Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host today. Same guy as always, same time as always, same day as always, Tuesday, 6 a.m. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you guys are watching this on Spotify, Rumble, I've recently started uploading my podcast to Rumble, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. If you guys are listening today, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I say comment all the time because back in the day when I used to do just YouTube videos specifically, that was something that we would always say. And nowadays, people don't really comment. I guess you just kind of do it on your own when you're upset with the host, which is something that I have been experiencing a lot. If you guys are on YouTube or if you guys are on, you know, if you guys are live these days, you are on YouTube or you're on Twitch, not Twitch, TikTok or Instagram. And if you follow me, you will see the amount of, I don't want to say hate. It's not hate that I get on my stuff. It's I post a lot. So the way I kind of set up my whole marketing plan and my whole podcast is I do it in a way so I upload on Tuesday, and then from that video I get clips, and I try to get clips for the entire week. And within a podcast, I will talk about so many different topics. I will talk about a lot of politics. I'll talk about current events. I'll talk about money and some of the opinions that I share. Uh, they're popular opinions, but they're not agreed upon across the board. So like last week, I posted a few clips where I talked about Donald Trump in a negative light. I uploaded that. It went crazy. It got so much negative feedback. Got some positive feedback as well. And then then the next day I posted something that kind of was dismissive of Joe Biden, and that also did very well, but it didn't get nearly as much feedback as the one where I dismissed Donald Trump. So that's kind of how I do my podcast is I take clips, 7 clips, and I try to upload a daily clip. That has helped tremendously. The growth of the podcast on the YouTube side of things has been insane. It's been tremendous. Like last month alone, I think I got like 80 new subscribers, like 115,000 views, and the time watch was like 36 hours or something crazy. It was nuts. It's been crazy, and I can't thank you guys enough. And I know a lot of that has to do with me posting more content. Daily content is king. Like content is king. If you're out there trying to build any brand, any platform, if you're trying to build a following, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want and you come with the best ideas, whatever you want to do. But the only way you're going to grow a platform is with content, daily content, twice a day content, 3 times a day content. Say what you want about Gary Vaynerchuk, call him crazy, call him a lunatic, say that he's on Adderall, whatever you want to say about the guy. But the guy hustles and he puts out so much content. Not him personally, but his team puts out so much content every single day. He doesn't miss anything. He doesn't miss anything. And it's like motivational stuff. It's like daily motivation. I mean, I used to listen to Gary Vaynerchuk all the time. Like I remember back when he used to do daily vlogs, which I don't think he does anymore. But back in the day, he probably 5, 6 years ago, he would do daily. It was called Daily V. Him and his friend, D Rock, would go around and they would post a vlog every single day. And at that time, I was kind of confused with what I wanted to do with my brand. I was in a stage where I was leaving gaming, in the gaming world, and uploading YouTube commentaries, video game commentaries for Call of Duty. And I was moving more into like the space of fitness and like fitness content. And this was at the time that like Christian Guzman was coming up, Nikki Blackadder was coming up, Max Tuning was coming up, Nick Bear Performance, Bradley Martin, and I was kind of like caught in limbo. And I remember I'd watch him, and he would do a daily vlog, and that inspired me. Like it really did inspire me. And say what you want about him, but he's an inspiration. So I kind of took his lead, and I wasn't posting daily vlogs, but I was posting vlogs twice, 2 to 3 times a week, and that really helped grow this page right here. If you actually go on my YouTube, Michael Labs, if you scroll back like more than 3 years, you can watch like my fitness videos, my eating challenges. Like I had a fitness page for the longest time, and like that's the power I think of branding is you change, and as you change, your audience notices it, your audience sees it, and I think there's something really powerful about like having a digital footprint these days because it doesn't go away. People are going to see it forever. People are going to watch you forever, and whatever you post is there for people to see. And I think that's for me. I very much enjoy that because if you've been with me since day one in terms of like the fitness and the clothing and now the podcast, like you can see the growth that I've had. Um, but yeah, the daily content has been tricky for me. It's been hard. It's nothing crazy, but you just kind of clip up 7 different videos, you edit them, you add captions, and then the hardest part is figuring out like the best time to post. Sometimes I'll post the same clip 4 or 5 times like within 12 hours. And if it doesn't do well like in the first 30 minutes, I'll take it down and repost it again because the goal is to get views, right? Like you want to get views on your content. And sometimes if you post at a certain time, you don't use the right hashtag, your title's too inflammatory, people like YouTube specifically won't like show it to anybody. And then sometimes 12 hours will go by, then YouTube finally goes like, okay, it's gonna take off. Like I had a reel that I posted on Instagram that did nothing for like an entire day, and then I was like door dashing and I picked up my phone just to look at it real quick to see what was going on. And it was killing it. Like it got like over 4,000 views. Um, but if you're somebody out there listening, and if you're in content creation or whatever, or you think about getting into content creation, or like if you want to do a podcast, or if you want to do a vlog, if you want to do something on YouTube, the first thing I would tell you is do it. And the second thing I would tell you is to have content and just push content out because people will eventually come around, like your stuff. I know for me, like everybody that I listen to nowadays, Rogan, Bert Kreischer, Whitney Cummings, Tony Hinchcliffe, um, Lex Freeman, all these people, I didn't listen to like when I first heard of them. I remember the first time I heard Rogan, I didn't know who this guy was. I don't even know what was like the first podcast. I think it might have been with like Jordan Peterson, or it might have been with like Dr. Randall Carlson. And I remember just listening to him. I was like, this guy's odd. He's a weirdo. I mean, this must have been like 2014, 2015. This is back when he was in California, and not the California, like the old, like the first studio he had in California, not his house, but the next one, the smaller one. This is like before he was Rogan. Like he was just the podcast guy. Or I think he was like still like the Fear Factor guy. But I remember when I first listened to him, I listened to him like for a day, and then maybe I was listening to him like 2 days later, maybe like a week would go by and I wouldn't listen to him again. But then over time, I constantly saw him like pop up on my feed. It popped up on YouTube because I used to just listen to podcasts on YouTube. Now I exclusively listen to them on Spotify because of DoorDash. Um, you get like the bug was in my ear. He just kept on talking and talking and talking. And then I fell in love with him and I listened to all his podcasts. And then I would see like Bert Kreischer pop up on his podcast or like Tom Segura or like Theo Vaughn or like any of these people. And I just wouldn't give them a chance. I would listen to them only when they're on Rogan. And then I saw like they had their own podcast. I was like, what is this about? And I think that's the power of content. All those people are just normal people. They're just individuals. But what makes them special is that when they have an idea, they just keep on pushing the idea. And that's what I've done with the podcast. And it's been around for 3 years now, and like that has been the the golden rule for me. No matter what I'm doing, no matter how I'm feeling, get on the mic and talk and talk and talk and let people hear. Because at the end of the day, most people, they tune in a podcast because they just want to hear somebody talk to them. I mean, that's why I listen to podcasts because it's lonely in the car. I want someone to talk to me. And that's what everyone I listened to that I went off Theo, Bert, Chris D'Elia, Chris Stefano, Rogan, all these guys, they provide me with that value. And if you're somebody out there like and you don't think like you can do a podcast, if you don't think you can do a vlog or do like a gaming channel because you don't have it or you're not special, you don't have the special thing, those days are over. Like those days of like Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Scarlett Johansson, like being picked by somebody, those days are over. Nowadays, 2022, going into 2023, you have the power to be whatever you want to be in terms of the internet and social media. And if you want to be a podcast guy, you're going to have to, first of all, get a podcast, start a podcast, and just do it for years. Years. I mean, some people hit, a break after a few months. Some people hit a break after a year. Some people like me, it's taken 3 years for me to gain a following of thousands of downloads a month. Some people can just get millions of downloads within a year. That's not my brand. That's not who I am. I have a podcast that's very generalized. I don't get deep into one subject. It's just me. I don't have guests on very often. Sometimes I do. Um, so I have a very specific listener, right? And sometimes I can annoy people, and I'm very honest, and I say what's on my mind, and I talk freely. Um, and because of that, I don't reach an audience that is as popular as if I found a niche. And I knew that going into it. Like, I have a degree in marketing. Like, I understand that, like, if you really want to grow, you should find a niche and really hit that hard. Um, but I know for me, when I started a podcast, I did it because of therapy. So I just wanted to talk about whatever was on my mind, give my honest thought at the moment on any subject matter that's going on in the world. So that's what I've done. And I think if you're a content creator, that's what you need to do. Just get on a mic, buy a few things. I'm just gonna get a quick rundown of how to like start a podcast because I had a friend reach out to me. Him and his buddy wanted to do a podcast, and he was like, "I don't even know how to start." So I've done a few TikToks on it here and there, but the way that you start a podcast, because I've done it, but when I did it, I didn't know what I needed. I had a buddy of mine help me literally edit my first 2 episodes, I think, maybe just the first one, but he was the reason why I even have a podcast today. Um, First, you need to decide, I think, like what you want to talk about. And I know for me, I decided anything. And some people would say that's not an answer. Some people would say you need to figure out what you actually want to talk about. Um, I went with the name of my podcast was just the Michael Lab Show, and I did that because I didn't want to be very specific on a specific subject. Um, and then once I came up with the name, uh, I I was like, okay, do I want this on YouTube or do I want this on audio or do I want it on both? Knowing that if I want it on YouTube, I would have to get a video camera, which would set me back like $600 more. At the time, I just listened to podcasts on YouTube, like not even Spotify, not even Apple Podcasts. Like I was just listening on YouTube. So I think because of that, in the moment of my life that I was in, I was like, okay, it's got to be on YouTube. If I started a podcast now, I probably would still do YouTube, but I would lean more likely just not to do it. But I probably would still do YouTube because YouTube's king, right? Like YouTube's not going away. YouTube is like the biggest media platform in the whole world. I know there's like TV shows like Netflix and HBO Max and Game of Thrones, Peaky Blinders, Queen's Gambit, Lord of the Rings on Amazon. But at the end of the day, YouTube is free, so anybody can use it across the entire world. It's owned by Google. Google has all your information. Google is king. Google knows everything about you. Um, so it's going to be around forever. No one's ever going to dethrone YouTube, at least not in my lifetime, most likely. So once you decide what you're going to talk about, where you want to air the podcast, you will have to buy the materials. First things first, you got to get a mic. I use a Shure SM7B. You're gonna have to get a video camera for the podcast for the video side. I got like a Sony 4X, and then you're gonna have to get a Rodecaster, which is basically a platform that allows you to record your voice, so you can edit it. You can get headphones if you want to. I don't really use them too much. You can get lights if you want to. I use just a regular like ring light that people use for like TikTok and stuff like that. Once you get all that, you order it. You get your laptop. You download Final Cut Pro. You get the chips for the audio and for the camera. You hit record on the camera, record on the Rodecaster, and bring them together. Take both the chips out. Go to Final Cut Pro. Edit it for the video. Edit it for the audio. Line up the video. Line up the audio for YouTube, and then just whatever. I use iMovie for audio. and then I go ahead and just edit up my voice there. Um, and then on YouTube, I just upload the trimmed up version onto YouTube, the video file with the audio. I use the audio. I get rid of the audio from the camera, obviously, and I use the audio from the mic. There's platforms out there where you can automatically line those up because they're two different sounds. Um, I don't. I think it's like $600 to get, so I just go ahead and do it manually, which is fine. Sometimes there's a slight delay in my mouth and the words, but not too bad. Um, so you do that, you upload it to YouTube, and then you need to get a hosting platform for for getting an RSS feed. And this RSS feed is what uploads to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the podcasting platforms basically in the world. Once you get those, you will go ahead and open up that RSS or that hosting platform. I use Libsyn. And then the day you want to upload it, or you can schedule it, upload it to Libsyn. Libsyn will upload it to all the major platforms, and you just release the content. And you hope, that's basically what you need for a podcast. And I've had a few people reach out to me like, "How do you start a podcast?" That's how you do it. You get those basic materials. Um, yeah, and then you can market it however you want. I use Instagrams, TikTok, YouTube. I upload on Rumble now too. I don't really market there. I just kind of upload the material on that page. But that's kind of like inside baseball in terms of like the podcasting world and the content world. That's kind of my thoughts on that. I've always been interested in marketing. I went to school for that. I graduated with my major was in business administration, entrepreneurship. So I did a lot of um, classes in marketing. It's a very unique field because basically what you're trying to do is to get the consumer to think that your product is better than everybody else's, and you're trying to just put your product in front of someone else's face until they decide to buy it. Um, so that's kind of I took those rules and what I've learned, and I kind of took it over here and I put it in my podcast, and I think it's done pretty well. But in terms of today's episode, there's a few things I do want to talk about, a few serious topics, a few not so serious topics. I want to talk about myself, obviously, because ego maniac over here. Not everything has gone through. By the time this episode comes out, I'm going to know more about my current situation in terms of career. Um, Also, at the time of recording this podcast, it's also my birthday, so I've turned 26 years old. That was a crazy fast year. 25 was wild. This is like the first birthday I've ever had where I just kind of feel almost like it almost feels meaningless at this point. I know it sounds dumb. You just kind of feel like you're aging, like you're getting older. Like I'm over a quarter century year old. Like I'm 26 years old. You know, especially living just with Taylor, like there's nobody really there besides her to like celebrate it. So it doesn't feel like a holiday. You just kind of go on about your day. Bills got to be paid, money's got to be made, and podcast has to be done. So it's just kind of, it is what it is. She got me awesome gifts though. She got me a new pair of Nobles, which are like my favorite shoes of all time. And then she also got me a Peaky Blinder shirt, which is a show I'm absolutely obsessed with. I finally got around to getting her to watch it. I've literally forcing her to sit down with me before she starts work for the day, and then during her lunch break, I make her sit down and she has to watch Peaky Blinders with me. She'll love it. I know she'll like it a lot. There's a love interest going on right now, and it eventually ends, but she doesn't know that. I know that. Hopefully, she doesn't get upset with me when it does end. But, anyways, like I was saying, by the time this episode airs, so you're watching this right now, I'm in a situation. So let me just say frankly. So I interviewed for a job. This job was in an industry that I know very well. It's in the health and fitness industry. It's a remote position. It pays really well. It's like a sales management job. Um, and it is a position that I applied for on Indeed. and I had an interview, and I think the interview went very well. And for like the previous few months, like the last 2 months, I've been in a very like weird state. I've been, I don't want to say like depressed, but I have felt this sense of uselessness. I've been feeling very much like just kind of dragging my feet through life. You know, that feeling where you just like, I feel like everything I do is kind of pointless. Like like doing anything right now just feels like there's no meaning behind it. And it's been a very weird feeling for me because I'm not somebody who, I don't get like that often. You know, I always feel very upbeat. I'm always very happy. I'm somebody who I think I give out a lot of energy to people. I make people feel good about themselves. I've always been that person. And I think back before we moved here and when I worked at the gym, I was in a situation where I could always said I was working towards something. When I was in college, I was working towards my degree, right? When I was at work, I was working towards getting moved up, getting paid more. And I was working towards graduating, getting a big boy job. And then I got that big boy job. I ended up quitting that job, the finance position, the brokerage position, because I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do. Ever. Like, I didn't like it. Like the interview I just recently had, I told that person, I was like, it's just not for me. Like, it was not an industry I wanted to be in. And I still feel that way today, and I wouldn't change anything. Um, but at least when I was there, and like when I was studying for like my Series 7, my insurance license for Virginia, I felt like a dog with a ball, right? Like I had a purpose. I had something to chase. I had a goal to accomplish. And when I ended up quitting that job and I started door dashing full time, that kind of that feeling of purpose was still there for a few months, probably 4 or 5 months. Probably went away around July, probably late June, early July. And because my purpose was to make money, because I was bleeding so much money when we moved here. I was like, I need this because I stopped investing because I couldn't afford it. Um, because I needed every dollar. I needed every dollar. I sold all my cryptocurrency, which was probably up probably about $5,000. So nothing crazy, but I had to sell it all. I sold it all, paid all my bills. I had to stop investing, and this was all just for this job. So when it fell through, it was very, it was very defeating. I felt like I failed. Like I felt like I was just kind of pulled through something that I didn't even necessarily think I wanted, and I kind of got played. And I didn't like that feeling. It didn't feel good at all. Um, but when I was door dashing full time, I felt like my goal was to make money, to get my head above water, to start investing again, to be able to pay bills comfortably without stress and stuff like that. But then that slowly faded too. Like once I was able to get in that position where I felt comfortable again, I kind of looked around and I was like, is this it? Like, is this what I'm doing for like the rest of my life? Like, I mean, I want to make more money. I want to be able to do what I want. I want the freedom. Um, but I didn't know where to go, right? I had no idea where to go. And I think that was the moment where I started really kind of getting myself into this hole. And I started applying for remote positions because that's what I want to do. And those remote positions just weren't working out. Like I wasn't getting any offers. Nobody was getting back to me to hire me. Um, so I kind of just gave up on that. And I was like, whatever, I'll just keep door dashing. It's fine. It's not that much money, but it's better than nothing. So I kept on door dashing and door dashing and door dashing. And then Taylor got a remote position. And that's when I was kind of like, well, she has one. That's awesome. I'm happy for her. That's what we wanted to do. I helped her apply. Like, this is what we wanted. And then I kind of looked at myself. I was like, you're kind of holding everything back. Like, she's making good money. I'm over here having to stay here because I need a DoorDash. This is how I make money. I'm sorry. I feel so uncomfortable in my shirt today, guys. I feel so fat right now. I'm so insecure. Um, so I felt like this sense of like I was failing her, I was failing me, I was failing this life that we started to create, and I got sad. I got sad. and I kind of just let it eat away at me, eat away at me. I put on a lot of weight. I kind of stopped like doing any cardio. I was being very hard on myself. I had a few like mental breakdowns, panic attacks. And then, I was like, I talked to Taylor and she's like, you got to start applying again. Just start applying to jobs. And I did, right? I mean, within the past month, I've applied to over 200 positions. For the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I didn't get any interviews. I got nothing, nothing, got nothing. Nobody wanted to hire me. I just got, LinkedIn or the Indeed email. If you don't get hired, it's like, unfortunately, we've moved on. Good luck with your journey. And then last week, the beginning of last week or 2 weeks ago, I was with my parents back in Maryland, which was so much fun to just be back home and see everybody and talk to everybody. But it's an eerie feeling because nothing changes. I'll get to that later in this episode. But I was back home and I we were going somewhere to like walk around like a beach, and I got an email back from a company and they said, we're thoroughly impressed with your resume. We would love to do an interview with you. And that's when everything kind of turned for me. That's when I went from like depressed and sad to like, whoa, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I was super happy. And maybe I shouldn't even be talking about today because all three of the opportunities I have could go underwater. But, as of right now, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I feel confident talking about. So fuck it. That's what we're gonna talk about today. And somebody just moved in above us, so it's like really loud in my little Harry Potter closet. um So I hopped on an interview and it went really well. Like I think they really liked me, and I think I most likely, in my opinion, I feel like I'm gonna get a job offer, and it's a good feeling. And then right after I did the interview, that same or the next day, I got two more interviews coming up as well. So it's like, I feel good. I feel like I'm in a power position right now. I feel like I have opportunity. They're all remote positions. They all pay really, really well. Um, in the remote, so Taylor and I can move if we want to. We can go back to Maryland. We can go anywhere. We can move to Richmond. We can travel, which is something that we both really wanted to do. And it was like the first time in my life where I felt like this sense of like, wow, I'm at the point of my life where I could potentially be at the point of my life where everybody always wants to get to. Loving somebody that you care about more than anything else, doing a job that pays you really well, that you also very much enjoy, healthy, living on your own, having money to travel, having money to invest, and just being very happy. And I felt like right now in my life, I've gotten like that last puzzle piece. Like I found it. Like I looked underneath the table and I found that last puzzle piece. And all I got to do is put it back and I got to complete the puzzle. And that's how I feel. And it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey for me. Like I've never done anything like the normal way in terms of dropping out of college, starting a clothing business, starting a podcast, talking about my life on camera, sharing details about me, which I probably shouldn't share with everybody. It's always been abnormal way, but there's magic in that. I think my story is the reason why I had such a successful interview. It was in the fitness industry, so I told them about like, yeah, dude, I did like a YouTube fitness brand vlog on YouTube for like 3 years where I recorded myself working out, where I recorded myself going to different gyms, where I recorded me eating, and I talked about my workouts. Like I've been doing that for so long. Like I've always been that guy who's helped people lose weight. I've always been that guy who's like help people in the gym. I've been a personal trainer. Like I've gone to different gyms. I've worked at gyms and like I've sold gym memberships. Like I've done it all. I've built like clothing companies. I built a podcast, like all these experiences that I've had with building brands and learning how to market and like learning social media apps and being really good at talking and communicating with people, which I think a lot of that has to do with the podcast and also going to therapy and talking to Taylor. It seems like it's all starting to pay dividends. Like in the world of investing, companies that have excess cash, they will pay dividends. It's just a benefit from like owning Apple. You get growth in the stock, but you also get paid each quarter a few dollars here and there, depending on how much you own in the company. And I just feel like, you always hear these things as like a child. And now look, everything could fall apart and I could just be back to, next week my podcast could be sad and depressing. I don't get the job, or it could be like I got the job and my life has changed. Um but I think as a child you always, you know, you hear older people, parents, guardians, teachers, anybody, police officers, whoever it is, the person at the gym, they always tell you things like, you know, just do what you love, be passionate about it, and things will work out for you. And but as a kid, you don't think of it like that. You go like nothing's gonna work out for me. What do you mean? Like I'm like depressed. I'm sad. Like nothing's working out for me. Like yeah, I've done a YouTube channel. Yeah, I've built a clothing company. But what company cares about that? Like what is that going to get me in life? But it's true. It does. Like everything that you do does help you in the future. On the same token, any negative things that you do, any things that that you feel shame about, that you feel like you failed people, that you've cheated on people, you've cheated people out of money, or you've taken people's emotions and you've taken for a long ride, that's going to come back and get you too. There's two sides of the same coin. It's like, if you live a life where you're honest, good things will happen. And that's kind of my message. Like if you're a kid, and this is gonna be I'm gonna be very serious here. I've always been the kid who's just been odd, like has just been slightly off. Wasn't the kid who was invited to parties, but I also wasn't the kid that was made fun of those kids that were at the parties. I wasn't the best baseball player, but I was a decent baseball player. I was really good at math, but I sucked at English. Um, I've always been in decent shape, but not incredible shape. Like I've always had friends, but not that many friends. I've always just been like an oddball. While everybody else is applying to colleges, I'm sitting down to get a couple gameplays to put out on YouTube. And I'm going to do Call of Duty commentaries on them because I know that the gaming industry is going to blow up and I don't want to go to college. I want to make money off of video games. I've been that kid where instead of going to a party, I stay at home late at night to draw or to come up with new business ideas. Like I've always just been off a little bit. Um, and I don't know where that really stems from, but it's just kind of I've always been me. Like I've never been anybody else. I've never tried to be anybody else. I say things that I believe in at the time, and then I say things that I believe at the time that could possibly, be hypocritical what I said before. I do odd things. I talk on a mic. I record myself with my shirt off at the gym. I record myself eating food. I'm just a weird person, and I think it's sad because if you are somebody who steps outside of the straight and narrow just a little bit, you kind of get outcasted and you become this weirdo, and nobody wants to hang out with the weirdo. Nobody wants to be around the weirdo. Nobody wants to be known to be the friend. No one wants to be known as the friend to the weirdo, but that weirdo is a special person. And at the time, if you're in high school, middle school, college, or whatever you are, 40, 50 years old right now listening to this, just pause what you're doing and listen to what I'm about to say. Your weird activities, your weird tendencies, the things that you do that are normal to you, but to the world, you're odd as hell and you're an outcast. Those are your secret powers to this world. That's what makes you a powerful individual. That's what makes you unique. That's what's going to give you the upper hand in life. That's what's going to give you friends that are going to mean everything to you. Just be truthful to who you are. Be odd. If you're like me and you enjoy going outside after it rains and getting on your belly and feeling grass on your belly and looking at the underside of mushrooms, be that person. Don't be shamed into being something else, because what you're doing more than listening to other people you're lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, you always tell people that trust means everything to you. But when you start lying to yourself, you don't trust yourself anymore. How can you? If you're one way and then you think that that's weird, so you try to go the other way, you don't trust yourself anymore. You're going to go through this entire life now living a lie. Don't do that. Be the kid that looks at the underside of mushrooms. Be the kid that wears sloths on their feet for socks. Be the kid that wears Birkenstocks. Be that kid that who wears a fanny pack just because you love fanny packs. Like, be odd. Be the kid who wears long hair because you just like long hair. Like, don't be that person who hides all that stuff. Like, if you're autistic, don't. It's so hard. I have people in my life who are autistic that are very close to me, and I have personal experience with it more ways than one. One day I might tell you, I might be open with you guys, but today's not the day, unfortunately. It sounds so cheesy. It really does what I'm about to say here, but like, you are unique, and the skills that you think are useless and can be thrown away and are dumb, those skills are going to get you so far in this life because they are unique. The skills that I've learned that I didn't learn in school, but I've learned on my own, are the skills that have potentially got me jobs. And that's just, call it fate, call it Jesus, call it whatever you want. But the world works in weird ways. And that's one of the ways it works. It rewards you for being your true self. It just does. And I think that's just how that's just the reality of life, man. So be weird, be odd, be honest, don't lie. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to other people, but especially don't lie to yourself because you deserve more than that. You deserve more than just waking up every day and repressing your true self. That's not a life you want to live. No, you want to live a life where you do things because they make you happy. You don't do things because you don't want to make other people embarrassed by knowing you. Um, so I don't know. I felt like I really had to say that because I've recognized the path that I've taken is weird. It's odd. It doesn't make sense. The way I went to college is odd. And I've had a lot of conversations that are uncomfortable conversations with people, like family members, where it's like they talk to you like you're an idiot. Like, hey man, like, you should stay at that job, or hey man, like, go back to college, or like, hey man, why are you doing this? And it's like, I don't need, first of all, I don't need to answer to you. Second of all, why do you care so much? Like, your life isn't perfect. Why are you worried so much about me? And I know people say things, well, because they care about you and they love you and they're worried for you, and that's fine. But like, if you care for and love somebody, you support them no matter how odd it is. I've always said it and I'll say it again, like, as long as you have money coming in to pay your rent and pay for your expenses, and you're living off of your dime, you're not living off your parents' budget, do whatever you want. Be an artist, bro. I've always I grew up in a very um I grew up in a, you know, I guess a Catholic household. You know, I grew up in a very conservative household. My parents are not super conservative, like, they're very middle ground. Um but I grew up in a world where, like, I grew like my parents are cops, like, so you can fill in whatever you want with that, with knowing that information. But like I grew up going to church on Sunday. I grew up like having short hair and like not ever having long hair. Hence having long hair now. I grew up wearing blue jeans and like white shirts and like a very traditional life, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But once I found myself, like once I felt like a little spark of who I am, like I ran with that, bro. And there was a few years where I I I I I hid that from the world. I didn't want people to know my true colors. But everybody gets to a point in life where you have to decide, are you going to do that your entire life, or are you going to live a life where you're not shamed of being who you are? And that goes for anything. Like that goes for passion projects, your sexuality. That goes for who you like, who you don't like, um, opinions on things. Just be honest with yourself always, no matter what, no matter what. And I know I've spent like the last 20 minutes like all inspirational and like motivational, but like I mean, truthfully, like that's the stuff I listen to. That stuff gets me out of bed. Like listening to stuff like that really does get me out of bed. It makes me feel good. And I've been in a very like not dark place, but just a very like monotone. Like the world's kind of just been black and gray, and it's like I'm finally in a place where I feel like color is coming back, and it feels great. And the reason why color is coming back is because I follow through on my plan. I've always been me, and people are seeing that. And because I've done all these odd things, I used that. I talked about that. And it seemed like it really gave me an in. And I just want to tell people out there like the stuff that you're doing right now in middle school and high school that seems to be on the outside and it seems to get you like the weird looks. Nah, dude, that's the stuff you want. That's the stuff that separates you from others. That's the stuff that gives you personality. That's the stuff that makes you unique. That's the stuff that makes you fall in love with yourself. That's the stuff that makes people fall in love with you. So that's that. I'm done being all, you know, crybaby Michael. Got a few more minutes here. I guess I want to talk about just a few things. I guess we could talk a little bit about Queen Elizabeth. I also just want to kind of talk a little bit about going back home. I did this on my couple episodes ago. We went back home. I get that was May actually. So it was about 4 months ago. We went back home for Memorial Day. This time we went back home for Labor Day for my birthday. A week before my birthday, my parents weren't going to get up here, so we decided to go back home. And it was a surprise for my mom. We completely surprised her. I don't have the video right now, but my sister has it. I might repost it. I don't really know, but we went back home and I talked to my sister here and there, and we made a plan to surprise my mom, and it worked. Taylor and I left Saturday morning. She was off Monday for Labor Day, and we left Saturday morning, drove up to, um, left at like 7 a.m., 7:30 o'clock in the morning. We drove from obviously Roanoke to Annapolis, and Taylor had like a list of things she wanted to do. One of them was like Cheesecake Factory, and the other one was the mall because we don't have a Cheesecake Factory around here because I don't know. And maybe like I think it's just not enough people live here, which makes sense. And we don't really have like a huge mall. Like the mall back in Annapolis has like the Apple store, and it has like a movie theater, and it has like big stores, Zara, stuff like that. Like, actual stores. Like here, I mean, it has everything you need, but it's not like Annapolis Mall. Roanoke is like it's a city, right? But it doesn't feel you don't feel like you're connected to the whole world. But in Annapolis, you feel like you're connected to the entire world, right? You have Joe Biden that lives right up the street. You have the ocean that's 2 hours away. You just feel DC's right there. You feel like you're part of something bigger. right? And like there's the growth opportunity. I think that's the biggest stark difference between here and Annapolis, where like here you know like the richest person in town. You see their car every once in a while. So you know like the cap of everything. But like in Annapolis, you just things just get bigger. It's very American. Like things just get bigger, faster, better, richer. Like there's just no cap to anything. And like I like that. But I also like the calmness here as well. Anyways, Taylor and I, my sister and I go back and forth, and we decide we're gonna surprise my mom at Cheesecake Factory. So Taylor and I get there around 11 o'clock. We get a table, but we had to wait outside, which was awesome because my mom was very loud. We go outside, and my mom comes walking out with my dad and my sister, and I'm just like, oh my god, I've never done like a surprise before, right? And I don't like surprises. Like if someone gives me a surprise party, like I'll be thankful for it, but I'll also be very angry about it. It's just not for me. It's just not something I enjoy. Some people love it. I'm just not that person, I guess. I don't know. I'm a pain in the ass, I guess. But we surprised her. She's walking to talking about like tacos or something like that to my dad, and she looks up and she sees us, and she's just we're in the middle of the street coming up to Cheesecake Factory, and she just screams. She's so loud. She's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And then she just starts crying. But that was nice. It was nice to surprise my mom. That was a week before my birthday, so we celebrated my birthday. Um, she bought me a bunch of steaks to ship to my house. And we did a lot of things. Like we went to downtown Annapolis. We went out to eat. I ate a lot of food. Um, went to the gym. Went to the beach or like the bay. We had a good time. But every time you go back home, you always have it's kind of like yeah, I guess it's kind of like Christmas in the sense like on Christmas you think Christmas is this thing, and it is that thing. But when it happens, the day's never as fun as like the moments leading up to it. And I kind of feel that way about going back home. Not like seeing my family, but more or less like I just smelled my mic. I'm sorry, that was dumb. But you go there and I don't know what you expect. Like you expect things to be different, I think. Like you expect there to be some change, but nothing changes. And it's like a dichotomy. Like there's something beautiful about that, right? Because there's a comfort level in that. But there's also something that's very like kind of sad in a weird way, in like a depressing way. Not depressing, but just in a very eerie way, right? Like you go there and nothing everyone that you know is working at the same job. Everyone you know is doing the same thing. The stores are the same. The shelves are the same. And it's not. It's on me, right? It's on us. We just hype it up in our head, but just nothing changes. It's like that feeling is kind of like okay, this is life. You know, you just kind of you make your own excitement. You make your own fun. You make your own home. When we moved here, this was not home. To me, it feels like home now. I was there on the third day. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back. I want to sleep in my own bed again. I want to watch my own Netflix. I want to sleep on my own couch, hang on my own couch, eat my own food, use my own pans. But while you're there, it's lovely. you know, I've spoke about it before, but I'm so lucky. I'm I'm sure there's episodes of me out there before like talking down on like people in my life, but my life is I am the luckiest man in the world. I have such a amazing support staff. When it comes to like parents, I couldn't ask for a better set of parents. And the magic of parents is everything. Like I think the direction of a successful child in this world stems from the success of supportive parents. And I have that at all. I mean, almost to a detriment. Like my mom is the most supportive person you will ever meet. Like she truly believes if you think you can fly, you can jump off a building and fly. Obviously not to that point, but that's how she is. Like she's given me this sense. I've got it from both perspectives. Like my mom's given me this sense of confidence where I feel like I can just do whatever I want, and if it's in my way, I can figure out a way to get around it. And like this this sense of humor that's just so dark. I have a dark sense of humor. I think like it's dark. I can't even say some things that like I think sometimes, but that's beautiful. She's given she had a rough childhood, you know? She lost her father early in her life. My granddad passed away early. He was a World War II veteran. Like he's part of the greatest generation. Money wasn't everything. It wasn't around. My mom's from a different time period. She had to grow up quickly, and that rubbed off on me. I have that work ethic because of her. I work my ass off because of her. Um, and I have my sense of humor from her, and I had this overwhelming sense of confidence from her, and then from my dad, I have like this overwhelming sense of not an overwhelming sense, but I think I have a very high level of intelligence because of him. He's a very smart guy, very smart guy. He's an incredible communicator, and he's very very caring, and he's very emotionally intelligent. That's what I've gotten from him: intelligence, emotional intelligence, and nurturing. Which is odd because usually you get that from your mom, and I got that from my mom too. But like my dad's very nurturing, very nurturing. He's also very honest. I've got my honesty from him. He's very very honest. He'll tell you what he thinks, um, but he does it in a way to not make you hate yourself. Um, I was blessed with just a powerful, powerful set of parents, and that doesn't mean that there weren't times in my life where I hated them, because of course there was. As a child, as a young kid, as a young man, especially with your father, like that dichotomy with your father, people don't understand. Like when you're 14, 15, 16, probably 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, you as a boy, you want to take over the family. It's a weird feeling. Like you go to war with your parent, like your dad, specifically your dad. You feel like it's my turn to be the man of the house. You start getting a little bit taller. Maybe you can see eye to eye. Maybe you're at chest level. And I know for me, like I got to the point where I was like, nah, this is my family. And they set you straight. My dad set me straight. Um, but that relationship with your father is always an odd one. It's hard to really put into words what a relationship with a father means because it's so complicated. Um, because all you want to do as a son is make them proud. Uh, but sometimes you don't feel like you are, you know? So when I go back home, I just feel like I didn't feel like I was making anyone proud, even though it's crazy because if you ask them, they would say how wonderful I am as a son, how happy they are to be to be parents of me. But you just kind of feel shame sometimes. I don't really know what I was talking about there, but I love going home. I love seeing everybody. But the world keeps going, man. No matter where you are in your life, no matter if you're starting college, ending high school, starting high school, ending middle school, you know, 45 years old, just got a divorce letter from your wife. I'm only 26 years old, and you probably listen to me and you probably roll your eyes at me. You probably go like, "This idiot, what's he talking about? He's young. He has no life experience." And, I'll shake my head and I'll say, yes, that's absolutely true. I don't have life experience. I've been through one breakup. I've had my heart broken twice. Um, you know, I've lived on my own for a little bit, but in terms of life experience, like death, I haven't experienced it. Both my parents alive. I've lost my grandma. That was hard. Got over that. Lost my dog. Got over that. Um, I don't feel shame for any of my actions. I haven't hurt anybody in my life. I haven't done anything that I regret. Uh, so I don't have to deal with that burden. Um, you know, I've done well. Um, but I do still think I can say, and I don't care what anybody says. I feel like I can sit here today and say, life is going to give you challenges. It's going to be hard sometimes, and it's not going to be everything that you've always wanted it to be. But what you have to do is realize that you are cut out for it. You're designed for it. Every skill that you've learned, all the tools that you've gathered have taken you to this moment in your life. So if you're leaving middle school and you're scared crapless to go to high school because you're overweight, because you don't think the girls are going to like you, because you haven't had your first kiss yet, just know when you get into high school, if you stay on your track, if you stay the person who you are, if you go in the weight room, work out a little bit, maybe clean up your diet a little bit here and there, study hard, you'll you know you'll find a girlfriend, you'll find friends, um, real friends, real girlfriends if you are honest with yourself. If you're a kid who and freshman year will be hard, but sophomore year, junior year, senior year will be better. You'll be happier. Things will turn around for you, buddy. If you're leaving high school, if you're a junior or senior in high school, and all your friends have, they're running around like I got into JMU or I got into the Naval Academy or I got into UMD or I got into Towson, yay! And you're just sitting there on the sidelines going like, well, I didn't even know application season was here. I didn't even know what application deadline was. I didn't even apply to school. And, you feel outcasted for that. You feel dumb. Just know that's okay. I think it's an advantage. I think me dragging my feet through college was an advantage for me. Dropping out was an advantage for me. It gave me perspective. It gave me life experience. I worked in a bar. I experienced what I don't want in life. I don't want to be a wreck. I don't want a bar to know me by first name and know me by my drink. I'll say that again. It sounds dumb, but it's one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in my life. I worked at a bar and I knew people's drinks. I knew people by their first name. I knew their husband. I knew the wife. I knew the name of the mistress. I knew the name of the kids. I knew what they were running from. I knew they were running from disability. I knew what drugs they did. I know what drugs they sold. I knew their regrets, and I knew I never wanted that. I never wanted that. I never wanted to be known on a first name basis. I never wanted someone to know my drink order at a bar. And that sounds so dumb and it sounds so cheesy and it sounds like why would you care about that? But it was something that because I dropped out of school and I worked full time as a manager and a server at a restaurant, it gave me perspective. I was like, nah, dude, not saying that that's bad, not saying that that's below me. It's not. It's perfectly fine. But it's not what I wanted. And I knew that that's not what I wanted. So I tried my hardest to build a life where I could avoid that, where that wouldn't exist. Just keep going. Go to community college if you want to. Go to a 4-year college after that if you want to. Make sure you work. Make sure you're good to yourself, good to people that you love. If you're in a relationship, be honest all the time. Always be honest. Don't lie. It doesn't get you anywhere. I've always been honest with my current partner. I think my previous partner I probably wasn't honest with, and that led to issues. But you grow from it. If you make a mistake, don't feel shame. Learn from it. Don't do it again, or you will probably do it again because that's the reality of the situation. But try to reduce your chances. Do everything you can to not make those mistakes again. And if you're in college and you don't know what to do, like the situation I'm in, just apply to jobs. DoorDash if you need to. Serve. Don't feel shame in that. I felt so much shame in the person that I am, but I don't anymore. It's hard not to, but just try your hardest to realize that this life, no one has it figured out. And when you talk to somebody, don't assume that the person that they're betraying is the person that they feel as. Not everyone has it figured out, and that's okay if you don't have it figured out. I know you guys. This episode was. I didn't really talk about the queen dying. I didn't talk about anything. I didn't talk about the market. I didn't talk about gas prices. I didn't really talk about anything like that. I kind of just talked about me, myself, my titties, and how fat I look right now. Here's a tip: if you're a fat guy, this is the biggest tip I could give you of all time. If you're fat and you're a dude, become funny. Everybody loves a funny person. Girls will say that they love fat guys. They don't love fat guys. But a girl will laugh at a fat guy. And if a fat guy says something that's funny, you might get that girl. Always be funny, no matter what. Also lose the weight because it's not healthy to be super overweight. But develop a sense of humor. That's what I did as a fat dude growing up. I always had a sense of humor. I would always beat people to the joke before they could make fun of me. I'd make fun of myself. Um, but I apologize that this episode wasn't everything you wanted it to be. I know I really didn't talk about any modern events or anything going on in the news for that matter. But sometimes you just get on the mic and you just want to talk about life a little bit, and that's what I decided to do today. I'm really, 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 really hope next episode. If there's an episode next week, it's good. If there's not an episode next week, it's bad. Even if I do upload and I didn't get the jobs, I'm still gonna, I'm gonna keep on applying. I'm pretty confident in it. But hopefully, there's good news in the next episode. I just farted. Hopefully, you didn't hear that. Next episode, hopefully, I have good news to talk about. And if I don't, I'll be honest. But no matter what, if I get the job or I don't get the job, I'm gonna continue to do this podcast. This kind of feels like the anchor sometimes to my week. It gives me something to do. I dread it sometimes, but sometimes I love it. Um, you know, but yeah, that's it, guys. I don't really have much more to cover. If you liked it, tell a friend, tell somebody about it. Um, yeah, if you like the podcast, tell a friend. Follow me on YouTube. You know, like it and follow on Spotify. Rate it on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And just remember to be yourself, be powerful, be weird, and embrace it all. Until next week, guys, I'll see you soon. Peace out. See ya.